The year was 1962. The date was 18th November. The time was 3:30 a.m. There were 120 Indian soldiers sitting at 18,000 feet in minus 24 degrees centigrade, waiting for the Chinese troops to attack. There were 5,000 Chinese troops that the Indian soldiers had to fight. The Chinese troops had better weapons. They had better clothes to protect them from the cold. Indian troops were not only less in number, they also had outdated World War II weapons and very poor standard of clothing. Yet, they were given the job of defending this pass called Rezang that lies in Ladakh. These 120 soldiers of Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon Battalion were given instructions that when their ammunition got over, they should leave the territory and return to their post to plan better. But these soldiers decided not to take a single step back. They wanted to stop 5,000 Chinese soldiers with 120 Indian soldiers. Result? They laid down their lives, but succeeded in stopping the Chinese soldiers. Common sense says China would not make the mistake of attacking India again, a rising power with a military that is among the best in the world. India also has an army that's been tested time and again across different frontiers, whether along the line of control with Pakistan or while dealing with insurgencies in the northeast. China's People's Liberation Army, in sharp contrast, has not left the barracks for decades. The last time it left, it came back with a bloody nose from Vietnam in 1979. And the last time India and China exchanged fire, it was the PLA that suffered military reverses. In 1967, 4 years after the humiliating defeat at the hands of Mao's troops, India turned the table to win decisively against China in the heights of Chola and Nathula at the Sikkim border. So what happened in Tawang on December 9 and why?
9 दिसंबर 2022 को पीएलए ट्रुप्स ने तवांग सेक्टर के यांगसे एरिया में लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पर अतिक्रमण कर स्टेटस को एक तरफा बदलने का प्रयास किया। चाइना के इस प्रयास का हमारी सेना ने दृढ़ता के साथ सामना किया है अध्यक्ष महोदय, और इस फेस ऑफ में हाथापाई भी हुई है। भारतीय सेना ने बहादुरी से पीएलए को हमारी टेरिटरी में अतिक्रमण करने से रोका और उन्हें उनकी पोस्ट पर वापस जाने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया अध्यक्ष महोदय।
Tensions are running high between India and China once again after the recent clashes between the troops of both armies at the line of actual control in Yangtze area of the Tawang sector in Arunachal Pradesh. This was the most recent clash that the Indian troops have had with the Chinese. The previous one was in eastern Ladakh's Galwan in 2020 when India lost 20 of its troops. But why does China repeatedly target Yangtze, and what is the significance of India's Arunachal Pradesh? The border is fuzzy, with both sides claiming territory that is in the other's control. India claims some 45,000 square kilometers of territory in Aksai Chin in the western sector of the border, which China occupied in the 1962 war, while Beijing claims an area of around 90,000 square kilometers, roughly coinciding with the state of Arunachal Pradesh in the eastern sector. China refers to Arunachal Pradesh as southern Tibet. Interestingly, during the 1962 war, China had taken control over vast swaths of this territory but then pulled back. In Arunachal Pradesh, Yangtze is one of the 25 contested areas along the 3,488 km line of actual control. Tawang is situated 448 km northwest of Itanagar and is roughly 16 km away south of the LAC with China. Tawang is strategically and culturally significant to China. Tawang houses the Tawang Monastery, which is the second largest Tibetan Buddhist monastery in the world, only after the Potala place. Moreover, Tawang Monastery is where the present Dalai Lama stayed for weeks after escaping China in 1959. Hence, from China's perspective, it becomes an important site in the history of Tibetan resistance to Chinese rule. If Tibet was to rise up against China, Tawang would emerge as an important center of resistance. Besides the cultural aspect, Tawang also holds tactical importance for China. The town provides a strategic entry into India's northeastern region. To the north of Tawang lies the important Bamla Pass, which is a border pass between India's Tawang district and Chinese-occupied Tibet Autonomous Region, also known as TAR. Incidentally, it was this pass that the Chinese troops used to invade India in 1962. China has always claimed Arunachal Pradesh as its own, and there's a strategy there too. If India wished to attack China, Arunachal would be the closest location for India to deploy its missiles from. Additionally, Arunachal is the best location for India to deploy a multi-layered air defense system for possible attacks from China. Defense experts state that an increased presence of China in Arunachal would help Beijing exert its influence in the area as well as negate India's presence. Experts believe that the latest skirmish was Beijing's attempt at pushing the Indian defenses and try and gain as many heights. Also in Yangtze lies the crucial 17,000 feet high peak. This peak in the firm control of India currently provides a commandeering view on both sides of the border. The perception that India is currently the lonely gun, especially after the Ukraine war, looks amusing to China. The West will have its own grudges with India. In the given scenario, she may be tempted to believe that a military action in the Himalayas would be a safer, more productive bet compared to invading Taiwan. With Mao as Xi's role model, it's hardly a surprise to see a Galwan or a Tawang happening these days. In fact, since 2012, China has indulged in foul play along the India-China border. Post-Galwan, the threat perception has increased multifold. And as December 9's incident in Arunachal Pradesh suggests, such incidents, standoffs and face-offs are not going to go away anytime soon. The best way India can push China to go in for peace on its borders is by preparing full throttle for war. But then, with Xi Jinping around, one never knows. China and its emperor should, however, know that New India won't be a pushover. And Mao, in that case, was luckier.